Welcome back. Ball and Breakfast podcast here with Wayne Pua and Patrick Miller. We're going to be covering some NBA tonight. It's been a while since we touched on the topic, but when you got KD and Kyrie on the move in the NBA, super teams getting demolished, before really, any titles or banners are being hung or anything like that. Always a good sign for the fan of, organic growth and kind of looking from within to build a team. So they're on the move, new destinations. We'll first kind of cover the Kevin Durant trade, although it happened behind the Kyrie one. Bigger piece than this, but 4 first-round picks, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, go on over to the Brooklyn Nets, and Kevin Durant comes back for the Phoenix Suns. Wayne, first off, with that trade, what did you make of the actual trade itself? Just the pieces involved in it, and what do you see right now for the Phoenix Suns? Going forward with KD at the helm.
Yeah, so I remember waking up to this because I think the trade happened right at midnight, I believe. At least that's when it was announced on Twitter. I forget who exactly called it out, but I remember I was in New Orleans and I was at a bar and it was around noon, and everybody at the bar, or there was a group that just came in. They didn't hear the news or anything like that, and they were just like, "Whoa, what is that?" I think that the Suns they're obviously just instant contenders here. It's one thing to add in, maybe a mid-level player piece here and there and seeing if they gel, or even an all-star. But KD is, we can knock on him for, moving teams and things like that, and, questionable leadership here and there. But, when you got Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton on your team, that I think qualifies you as probably the top contender right now. In the Warriors, they're not looking as good right now as last year. I don't know if they're a little bit tighter or whatever, but they're just not looking good as they were last year, just by having a lot of the common pieces that they had from last year. I know that they are looking to get, or there are talks about Gary Payton Jr. and stuff like that. But I think this team, even though they got rid of, quite a haul, with is it Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges, right? And obviously all the first round picks there. But despite that, though, I know Kevin Durant's he's going to be injured, or he's been injured for the past month, right? So hope he comes back healthy. Hopefully. They play in the playoffs healthy as possible, with Chris Paul and Booker and all, because I know they've kind of had their history of injuries. So if they can be healthy, I don't know if there's a team that can stop them in the Western Conference. I will say I think they obviously sacrificed some depth. They sacrificed some really good depth pieces. So I guess that's my one concern there. I don't think they can get some people, pick up some players here and there, via the waiver wires, things like that, in order to help supplement some of that. But, again, when you have that starting squad that they do or are expected to have, I don't see any team really beating that. So, yeah. But what do you think?
It's interesting. I'm looking at Durant. We obviously know who he is, where he's been. He's going to be on the shelf for a couple weeks now. I'm just looking at Kevin Durant at 34 years old. He's only played more than 72 games twice since he was 25 years old. So with that, I'm just thinking, he's got 3 more seasons after this one. And in my opinion, we don't know when he's going to get back on the floor just yet. I think it's at least a couple of weeks. So they're looking past the All-Star break. But, you've named all the guys there, beyond the core 4 on the Suns. You've got Torrey Craig, you've got TJ Warren now, who I think is a decent basketball player. Cam Payne on the bench. They just signed Terrence Ross after a buyout with the Magic. They're stringing it together, but I also think that it just takes a little bit of time to build that continuity up, to build, some sort of chemistry, some rhythm, both on offense and defense with, a player like Kevin Durant. They definitely have the talent there to, get up to speed, throughout the rest of this season, maybe through the off season into next season. But, there's just like a, confluence of different factors there when you think about like injury risk. You just think about the continuity for this year, the depth there. But I also think, looking at the Suns, they're fifth in total defense, and they just lost arguably their two best defenders. They lose Mikal Bridges, their best defender for sure. Cam Johnson, very switchable, long, young, tons of potential. It's hard. It's hard to kind of manufacture a team and, just expect it to go to the moon instantly. I think, LeBron, Bosh, Wade, just special guys, three special guys, Hall of Famers, no doubt. They had the entire offseason to build together. They were all young in their prime. Just a different scenario. And I think we've seen this, a few different times now. We've seen it with the Sixers. We've seen it, obviously with the Nets. We've seen it for the Warriors. We've seen it on the good side of things. We've seen the Cavs win or loss, for LeBron, his second edition of it. But it's like, I think there's also an X factor of, like you were saying, Chris Paul is the leader. Durant really needs to, lean on guys who, can take the lead, who can be, the voice in the locker room, the voice in the press and the media. I feel like he kind of wants to take that approach as a player. And, his time is just ticking to me. I'm excited about this Suns team. Like I'm thinking they are completely in this mix. Like a Western Conference championship appearance is to me like almost a sure thing in my mind. I just got to know that Durant's on the floor, starting those playoffs off, and maybe he's had like a month or so to kind of get prepped with the team, and they're showing signs of life. But I do have some other teams that I'm looking at in the West too, where I'm like, damn, like, I don't know, like there's going to be some stiff competition here, but maybe I'll get to that after we talk about Dallas. But do you have any thoughts on what I just said with Phoenix?
Yeah, no, I definitely think that they're gearing up for everything right now. So they obviously mortgage their future in a way just to win now. Who knows what happens with those first round picks that they have that Brooklyn got from them, because that could definitely pan out for Brooklyn for sure. And rightfully so. With signing Kevin Durant and Kyrie, right? It's like that's what you get. So it definitely is a little bit concerning. I think if I am a Phoenix Suns fan, it's like we better win now. And obviously they're putting all the moves for that. It'll be interesting. I do think that in terms of like the Western Conference and like I guess best moves and like where teams are looking at, like right now, if we go down it, it's like the Nuggets like can't have a lot of depth, but they're maybe not as experienced. Maybe they're just kind of overload. I mean, we'll see what kind of Jamal Murray we get come playoff time, because we've seen previously he's done a great job there. But yeah, like everybody will make sure that Jokic does not beat them. And a lot of these good quality teams can game plan on that. I do want to say, like, I think the Clippers had a pretty good haul. I know they got was it Bones Highland who can get buckets, and I think that's great. That's a great ad. Coming off the bench for them there. So as well as Eric Gordon, and I think also Plumlee that they got, and I think got rid of John Wall and Luke Kennard, something like that. So they look pretty good. They've been playing really well. Again, if they're healthy, I think like that's the biggest thing. So, but yeah, I don't know. They are old. The Suns are old, except Devin Booker and Aiden. And I don't know. That could be, kind of what ends them if I were to make an argument against them. It's just, hey, the playoffs. Kevin Durant's been playing playoffs for a while. Same as Chris Paul. Maybe this season, they're only getting older. Sometimes those young legs or prime legs just win out a little bit. So that would be, I would say, is the biggest thing against them.
Yeah, I should say with everything that I just said about the Phoenix Suns, completely worth the risk. The price to pay was hefty, and I no doubt think that the Brooklyn Nets are set up for the future. And with all the chaos that they had to kind of endure over the last few years with Kyrie and somewhat KD, it's like at least they've got a way to pave a new future for themselves, and like they'll bank on those picks for sure. And I'll even like some of the talent they got back in that deal with Mikal Bridges and Spencer Dinwiddie. you kind of look across the, different wings. Cam Johnson's going to, be interesting. And, Joe Harris is still there. I feel like they have a lot of guys, on that team that can play anywhere from the 2 to the 4 and just be super switchable. And they've got a whole year to kind of see, what they truly need to kind of move into next year. But, besides Phoenix, like you were saying with other teams, in the West, we could touch on Dallas in a sec here, but, you brought up the Nuggets. They just got Reggie Jackson on a buyout deal over from the Clippers. And I know it's kind of like, in a way, they just made a trade Bones Highland for Reggie Jackson, but it's like, he brings a lot of playoff experience there, some grit, some scoring off the bench. I think that's what they were looking for, is just like a little extra depth with a guy who's not, a clubhouse problem, and what they saw in Highland. But, I like, Jokic and Murray, and then you've got, hopefully a healthy Porter and Aaron Gordon too. And it's starting to like kind of come together for them. I feel like, they've got KCP there as well. It's like they've had a couple of years now, especially when they're in the bubble, like really making a strong push to be, a legit contender. And it's like, they've got that full year of continuity kind of built up. I think they have one of the best, point differentials in the NBA right now. It's like things are kind of moving into, full focus. I feel like there's going to be a lot of pressure on Jokic this year to like really set the tone, at least get them to the conference championship and, maybe to the finals. But I feel like if he comes up with a dud here, like an early exit, people are going to start looking at him like, is this the kind of guy that can lead a team, or is he just, a stat getter?
Yeah, no, and that would be unfortunate. He might, and I don't want to say this because they're both like tall white guys, but yeah, it could be like a situation like Nowitzki, right? Kind of like that, right? Where they're the prime focus, they are the franchise, they're always going to be like the number one, and then they're just gonna, the owners just gonna try to make the best they can with whatever resources they have, pumping in free agents here and there, or obviously, with currently with what the Nuggets have right now, they've done some good drafting with Jamal Murray, Michael Porter, again, when they're healthy, like in which they are, fairly well this season, they're a really hard team to beat overall. And yes, and Aaron Gordon has been playing really, really well as, for the season too. And like, I don't know how, again, discussing the Western Conference and just overall MVPs, like, I don't know how Jokic can't win the MVP this season, right? Like, out of all the previous seasons, like, I feel like this season is the most justified, considering also, they're like the first seed too. So, I do, and I do like your argument about, I guess the Suns, like when you do trade for that top level talent, it just takes some time to gel. So, with these, I guess dramatic, for lack of a better word, trades with Kyrie going to, the Mavericks, and then Kevin Durant going towards the Suns, it does take time to gel. And, when they're older too, who knows, like it's their new dog, or old dog, new tricks, right? So it could be a little bit more of a challenge to get that team to just gel, find the roles a little bit, and see what happens. So compared to, maybe the Clippers or the Nuggets, where the major pieces, they've all been playing with each other for, several years now. And then, maybe they'll sprinkle in some people here and there. But look at the Phoenix Suns, Kevin Durant, he's going to be, he's used to being the focal point. So, he'll have to figure out his role and how he fits in with the Phoenix Suns there. So, yeah.
I'd also like to see what the Grizzlies are made of. I know that they're becoming kind of an afterthought now with all the news, and they have had some unfortunate news where they're more getting involved in post game disputes with lasers on guns, and then trying to go after Shannon Sharp on LA's home court and stuff. It's like there's been a lot of just off court stuff that's kind of clouded what they are as a team. I know Ja came out and said, he's not worried about the West. I think now he's going to probably have to start getting a little bit more worried. There's no, certainties of how far he's going to go this year with his Grizzly team. But I just still, after watching him last year and kind of the steps they made, they're still right in the hunt of things for first place. I like Bane, I like Jackson kind of as supporting pieces for Morant. They've got enough, depth there with Adams and, Dylan Brooks too, where it's like, they can start to take some strides here. They are still fairly young and a bit immature, but we'll just have to see what happens when we get to playoff time. And you mentioned the Warriors too, which is just another team. It's like, they may have had an underwhelming season, but if they get healthy around playoff time, like that's a team with a lot of confidence, a lot of trust in each other.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it takes time to gel, and usually, during the playoffs, like you need that gelling, that chemistry just to come out all out, basically. And the Warriors, a lot of them have been playing with each other for a while, and a lot of them played in last year's playoffs. It's just hard, I guess, from what I've seen, to kind of have them as the favorite right now in the West, but there's still a lot of basketball to be played. So maybe that's all in the strategy, just trying to peak in the right time. But yeah, for me right now, like I like the Clippers just because of the things that they made. Well, first and foremost, like they're starting to get healthy, right? With Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. They've been playing really well, I think, the past like 10, 15 games. So and playoff Kawhi is like one of the best players ever, basically. So if that's still consistent, in terms of depth, in terms of two-way kind of players, like it's hard to find a team that compares to the Clippers in that sense. So but at the same time, though, there's a lot of chemistry that can still be built, I think, with the Nuggets and some of these other trades. Yeah, and who knows? I'd like to be proven wrong, though. I love being proven wrong. So so yeah, maybe the Suns do take it. I don't know, but it's just hard to bank on that gelling just to happen so quickly.
Yeah. I guess the one team we're failing to mention in this conversation, kind of the second part of it, but with Kyrie Irving being shipped over from Brooklyn to the Dallas Mavericks, they got Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, 2 seconds and a first unprotected going back. And I think you mentioned Markieff Morris was part of the Kyrie Irving trade to Dallas, but Dallas now has a kind of a formidable big two of their own, building some depth around those guys. But I guess, what did you make of that trade? What do you think of the Dallas Mavericks and kind of what their upside is in the West?
I mean, talk about balling and like playmakers, man. Like these two will be a show for sure. It'll be interesting, again, similar to I think with the Suns. It'll take some time for them to figure out each other's spots. Again, they're two ball dominant playmakers, and we've seen that with Dwayne Wade and LeBron, like you mentioned before, with the Heatles. Like it does take time. Granted, they went to I think was it like the finals, the first season. So it's like it's still gonna take some time, right? For that team, they don't have the depth pieces right now. To kind of compete with some of the top teams in the West, in my opinion. But I don't think they're too far away. I think Christian Wood is a solid big man. I know he kind of comes off the bench there. They got rid of Dorian Finney-Smith, but at the same time, Bullock's pretty decent. I think maybe if they are able to get like a wing or two, whether it be in the off season or if they are able to just pick one up here, I think that would definitely help them. Maybe like another playmaker off the bench. So I think a combination of that, they are definitely contenders, with those players, but I think they're maybe 1 or 2 year away. If you ask me like which team might be better in 2-3 years from now, I might actually pick the Mavs, to be honest. If we're to pick between the Suns and the Mavs, obviously it's just Suns are just getting older, and a lot of the big pieces are getting older. So, and Mark Cuban, he knows kind of just how to makeshift, if you will, some free agents and things like that to come to Dallas to help build around a world-class athlete like Luka. So I definitely think that there's a lot of exciting things for a Mavs fan, and now more than likely Luka's probably going to be staying now, right? So I think that's the big kicker there. But
yeah. Well, do you think that Kyrie's going to stay past this season? I feel like Dallas holds the right to give him the best max or even like a 2-year option, if I read that right. But do you think he'll want to stay, or do you think he'll want to explore his options once he's free?
I think he'll stay. I'll say that because of Mark Cuban and Luka. I think that combination, and maybe it's me trying to be optimistic about Kyrie. I think it's like, if Mark is smart, right, of how to and obviously they have coaches and stuff like that. Jason Kidd, I think Jason Kidd, he knows that whole thing of all right, I'm a point guard, all that. I think he knows how to, talk with them and get the best out of them there. So, and yeah, with Mark Cuban too, I think they have the leadership to be like, hey, Kyrie, you be you. That's cool. We want the best version of yourself to come out of here. That's totally fine. Let's win some games. How about that? I think that's kind of maybe what Kyrie's probably looking for. You compare what everything was happening with the Nets, it was just a shit show, I feel like. So, I don't think anybody's ever said anything necessarily bad about the Mavs. Maybe they're not a star destination, right? They had Dallas, right? But that they're like a destination city or destination franchise like the Lakers or even like the Knicks on occasion, or the Miami Heat. So, but at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of respect towards what the Mavericks do. So, I think he does stay after the season. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I feel like when you say it was a shit show, I mean, I just see him being central in the word it. So it's just I watched his press conference with Dallas after getting traded. I watched how he reacted after the first game and how nice he was to Luka. It's just I'm just waiting for one thing to go wrong, just one thing to get under his skin. Luka got more touches in a game, or Luka put up more shots, or Luka, started getting more headlines and more, better box scores or something of the sort. And just something's going to get under his skin, or he's going to come up with a new philosophy on, something he's observing in, modern society or something that's just going to, go viral or something. So it's there's just, I just feel like, some toxicity is going to come out of Kyrie at some point soon. And I don't know, and I'm kind of torn on what he's going to do in the offseason because, I think he probably does like Dallas. I think, walking in there, it's probably feels like a really fresh situation. I feel like getting to play with Luka in his prime is something that's attractive, that, he's probably just having fun with, hey, I still have somebody who's kind of the 1A and I can just be the 1B. But this will be fun. We can run together and, just have a really, fun time on the offensive side of things. But there is this Lakers suspicion that I have. It's just in the pit of my stomach, he goes free somehow this offseason and he just wants to go with LeBron, AD, and just try to instantly win maybe a couple championships. Because the way I look at Dallas, I'm kind of I think they're young. I think they're exciting. They kind of remind me of the Melo AI Nuggets, when they first formed together. It's you got these prolific offensive talents and, they've never really, won at the highest level. They're just trying to figure out how to take that to the next steps, but they're also very individualistic in the way that they, play their game. I think Doncic has way more capabilities of carrying a team than, a guy like Kyrie, but, we'll just see if this is a good mix for both sides. I'm wondering if Doncic can have success with Irving, if this will be a good fit for them, if they're able to stay together long term. But just as the team is constructed, I like Josh Green as an extra piece in this. Really nice 3-point shooter, very young, somebody who can take some pressure off of those two guys. Then Christian Wood, if he's able to stick around a little bit longer as a 6-man, big who can score and rebound a bit. I think he's got some value there, but it's they are missing some pieces here to really take them to the next level. And it's just I want to see what they're able to accomplish if they're able to stay together in the next couple of years.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think some people actually compared this whole, maybe it's a 101, but it's at least how the team is kind of set up where, like Chris, in a way, it's Kyrie back with the Cavs, when LeBron was there, and that, you have that generational talent in Luka, who he's very much, his game is similar. If you were to compare him to any player within the past 20 years, it's probably LeBron, right? All the triple doubles, can create his own shot and everything. And Is a triple double machine, one of the best passers around, things like that, right? So, and then I guess Christian Wood maybe is like a little bit not as good of a shooter, but maybe more athletic than Kevin Love in that case. So, but yeah, if they're able just to build around with that, with like you mentioned, like Jalen Green or not Jalen, is it Green, right?
Josh Green,
Josh Green, yeah, Josh Green, yeah. And then filter, get more wing defenders, like some 3-and-D players out there, then I think this team's going to be good. They just, need some, wing players there and some depth. And I think that they can contend now with Kyrie there. But yeah, Kyrie is always a wild card. I feel like I don't think anybody knows what's happening with Kyrie other than Kyrie. But even then, I don't think Kyrie knows what's happening with him sometimes. So I don't know. But I think part of me is, if I were in Kyrie's situation, given like my history and what I've, I guess done with the Cavs and with the Nets, I feel like a little bit of, and also like, the Celtics, I feel like a little bit of continuity will be good. And hey, you got one of the best young talents in the world right there in Luka. I think I would be more incentivized, I think, to make it work. Especially, I think if I want any type of like, my reputation going forward to be, having some sort of, I guess, dignity behind it. But I don't know. We'll see. He's definitely kind of goes, but he kind of just goes his own way, right? So yeah.
Yeah. I guess with all that, just everything that went on with Brooklyn, now looking at KD, Kyrie in two different situations, good situations for what they're worth, but going forward, let's maybe scan out 5 to 10 years. When a major talent becomes free, or whatever else it could be, do you think that guys are going to opt to stay in their current situations, or do you think super teams will kind of continue to be a trend here as we move forward?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think. We'll see what happens. It only feels like the NBA is just getting more money, right? So, and the players union, they'll see that, like, hey, can we get some of that? And more often than not, eventually they do. So, I do like how there's always that hometown, the max, where they can get a little bit more than what they can get, or a lot of bit more, I guess, depending how you think about it. A lot more from just staying, right? So, I do see some validity in that. I don't know how like NILs will take into account and all that, or if there's other revenue generation machines for the NBA. But I guess part of me likes to feel like again with the whole hometown just getting more from being staying with the team. I feel like there ought to be more continuity going forth, even for like these special talents out there. But I do think that they'll probably be shorter. Like, I don't think there's going to be, I don't know if there has been like of late of like 7-year deals or anything like that necessarily. I think it's going to be like 5-year deals, maybe max now these days. Right. So, because again, NBA valuations, TV contracts, or who knows whether contracts in the future just keep going up. So, I definitely think that I'm hoping that players, I think, will stay. Like, I hope Luka stays in Dallas and they just build around him, but I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. It just seems like, after watching this whole Brooklyn experiment, I would just be kind of hard pressed to see, like, let's say like the next 2 to 3 big free agents that all line up together in a class, kind of getting together like LeBron did with Wade and Bosh and saying, we can do this, we can accomplish this, versus kind of looking at where their teams are at. I'm sure like for the next, round of good superstars, like they're always going to be probably on playoff teams, because you got a superstar or two, and it's like you can string together some sort of, playoff team. And it's just, unless you're dealing with a really incompetent organization, like you're part of the Knicks or you're part of like the Charlotte Hornets or something, it's like I could see where you'd like want to bail and want to go to, greener pastures or something like that. But I feel like there's just been some really like telling lessons from all this. It's like, just because you manufacture it doesn't mean it's guaranteeing really anything for you. And like, I feel like a lot of these guys like look back and kind of regret it. Like, I know James Harden, making his move, like now he is talking about like wanting to maybe sign again with the Houston Rockets. It's like, going back to that place that really treated you like a king and like really, tried to build around you in multiple ways, even if it didn't work out. It's kind of like, there's some beauty in that, and I just hope that's where it kind of leads to, because, like, I think all the evils, all the ills of doing the super team kind of like bled out in that whole Brooklyn moment of just like how these guys thought that they were now part of management, and like how these guys thought, the world kind of revolved around them. And it's like, they really just never accomplished anything. So it's just, yeah, it's just incredible to kind of like to watch that thing dissolve. And, I'm looking down at the box score even tonight. Mikal Bridges had 45 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. Like, it's just disgusting, man. Like, now that they have all those assets and, return for the guys that, made them look really foolish. Like, there is some brighter times ahead, I think, for this team too.
Yeah, no, it's funny is that, like, kind of comparing where the Nets, right, specifically the Nets were, when they had, I think, D'Angelo Russell and I think Spencer Dinwiddie and like Jared Allen, and like they were building and they were like, you know what, we're just gonna trade them all for these, a little bit older but in their prime like mega talents. And it's like, well, they had no other pieces around them. Both of them were kind of divas, and they never really amounted to anything. So to your point, it's like we saw, I guess, what happened with Giannis. We're seeing also what's happening like with the Celtics, just getting to like really, really kind of like generational type of talents, or top 25 players out there, and they kind of just building around them organically, and you're building yourself for long-term success. So it's like, yeah, unless you are like an LA Lakers and you're able to just get like a LeBron at a whim, or Anthony Davis, right? Like, yeah, like I think I think more teams are probably, it's a copycat league, right? They're going to go towards the, building organically, getting a Giannis, getting, trading, trading other players. Maybe they'll copy the whole Danny Ainge thing, trading their players for a bunch of first round picks. And then hopefully they'll, one of those land, right? So I definitely think that long term, most organizations will probably go that way. Build through the draft, add supplemental free agents here and there. Kind of like, somewhere how I guess a lot of NFL teams, they're, getting rookie quarterbacks, using the rookie scale, a contract there, and then just, signing all these free agents and stuff like that. So that's probably the model that I'm thinking that the NBA is going to be geared towards, maybe for the next like 5 years until the next trend happens, where, the GMs kind of gamify the situation. So, but yeah, if I'm a player, it's like, hey, I get more money just by staying and, winning too. I think if we have a good relationship with the GM, owner, etc., city, then yeah, why not stay? So I think we'll probably see more of that.
Yeah, I'm also just with all this, the trades like you were saying with the Jazz, it'll be really interesting to watch what happens at the end of the 2020s here. I think it was Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo breaking it down, but like these unprecedented trades where 4 first-round picks get traded hands, like seeing where the Jazz will be, seeing where Brooklyn will be, and like the lessons that'll be learned from that, because it'll be extraordinary to watch. And even, we've been waiting on the Thunder to kind of cash in with like pick after pick that they've put together. It's just, it'll be fun to watch, but I think it'll also like share some cautionary tales about, how much are these guys truly worth in a swap where you're giving up some role players and all of these picks for would-be superstar.
Yeah, I know, like Rudy Gobert and everything. I know a lot of people have trashed that trade, and it does not look good for the Timberwolves. But I mean, I think that's a perfect example, right? Like it almost seems like there can only be one 7-footer, with the Timberwolves right now. I think I don't know the stats off this, but whatever I look at, I see like one of them is out. Like they're winning. The Timberwolves are winning. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen in there, but yeah, to your point, it's like I think teams will see these types of things, and maybe there'll be like a correction, like there was a stock market with, wait, is this player really worth 4 first-round picks just to get? Maybe not, even if it is like a win now situation. So, but it's hard to make that decision though. It's like if I am like the Phoenix Suns, right? I don't know who the GM is, but if I'm the Phoenix Suns GM, I got Chris Paul probably for a couple seasons, right? I got to be win now mode. So that definitely is where maybe that Kevin Durant works, and we trade heaven and earth for them. Give two of the best younger wing players out there, and Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges. But hey, I get the generational talent that is Kevin Durant. So, it's hard to say like he made the wrong decision if they win, but if they don't, we'll see what happens, because it could be a challenge, I think, to build around just in like 4 years when Chris Paul is retired and Kevin Durant might be retired then too. What are you going to build around with Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton? Like, you're not going to have much draft capital. You're going to have to build through free agency, or you probably have, with DeAndre Ayton and Booker, they weren't that good. So, they're going to figure things out there. So, we'll see what happens, I think. But, history, I think a lot of GMs are going to be looking to see what happens, I think, with these teams. So,
yeah. A championship would cure a lot of the stress or, future headaches that organization will potentially have to go through. But, no, I mean, I think this is pretty good coverage of what happened, out in the West. Do you have any other thoughts on the NBA?
I guess thinking about it too, it's like, with like even the Raptors now, if we want to do a retrospective, like what looked like, how that trade went down with DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard there, since we're talking about these trades, like I know that was a big trade back then. And the Raptors, they've been obviously they won the championship. And I again, you ask, if you were to do a poll, I think 99% of Toronto people, maybe 100, honestly, would say like they would do that trade again, right? But then, obviously, they're going through some, a little bit tougher times here, like fringe playoff team right now. Have some talented players, Scotty Barnes definitely is a talent. Fred VanVleet's is kind of taking that next step a little bit, and then Siakam, he's balling out. He's an all-star, right? I think too. So, or kind of quasi all-star and just like a stat filler. So, like I guess if you look at it that way, hey, maybe we go through some transitory years here and there. I guess like how we're dealing with inflation, and then hopefully, there's a light at the end of the tunnel there. Maybe they are able to suck for a couple years and then get that draft capital, or maybe they are able to get like a free agent that loves Toronto, since there's a lot more Canadian stars coming out there now. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with the Toronto Raptors there. But if I'm the GM for the Raptors, then I would probably make the trade again, get Kawhi, win that championship, and figure things out from there. But it's hard to say. But no,
I'm with you. You got to make the move. When you have everything in place to kind of make that next step. And, in the Phoenix situation, just going back to it, it's like, they don't make that move, then they do have Bridges and Johnson, but it's just like, is that truly enough this year to get them over the hump? And, what would you have to do if Paul is, free and, kind of out of his career at that point, facing retirement, and, what happens when Bridges and Johnson come to, those extensions? Like, are you able to do it when you've got Ayton and Booker on the book? So it's just like, it's hard to look at and say, this is a bad deal. It's just kind of like, it almost looks like a no-brainer if Brooklyn's trying to trade Durant and they've got 2 young assets they can definitely pay, and then they've got 4 additional first-round picks. And it's just like, unfortunately, that's the price that Phoenix has to pay today. But they put one banner up based on all this. It's like completely worth it, because they haven't had one. They had the whole Nash era. They've had, the Charles Barkley, led Suns. I mean, even some, Jason Kidd experiments here and there and stuff. It's like they've been so close, and they've had some really impressive teams. It's just like, it's almost now or never, Yeah.
And another trade too that had happened with Toronto then was it Jonas Valanciunas for Marc Gasol, I think too, right? So Marc Gasol, older player, fit their system a lot better, with Kawhi and with Kyle Lowry, just fit it better being, a big that can shoot outside a little bit more efficiently, and, had good lateral quickness and things like that too. So, Valanciunas, one of the better big men right today, I feel like, right? So, is a double kind of machine. So, but again, at the end of the day, if your franchise has not won a championship, and hey, this this era, this, everything that the players are playing for, if you want to be taken seriously as a franchise, you got to win that chip. And, I do admire, at least, I guess, what the Phoenix Suns are doing over there. I don't know if it's going to happen this year. Maybe it takes again, like an off season to just gel a little bit and then add some pieces there. But I got to admire, I think, what they're doing. I guess if we're to compare and contrast it with the Raptors and what happened with Kawhi, like that was during the off season. So, Kawhi did have some time to gel with like Kyle Lowry and that whole system there, Nick Nurse a little bit. So, right now it's midseason. It sounds like Durant's going to be, he's not playing right now. He's been hurt, so it's going to take some time to gel. Yeah, I just don't know what's going to happen during the, the playoff time if they're going to have that perfectly season right then and there. So, but yeah, I definitely admire, I think, what the Suns are doing. Hopefully they do win chip for their sake, and it's one less franchise without a chip. So,
for sure. Well, with that, I think, some good coverage of the NBA, what's been going on in the trade market. We'll see how this year plays out. And I'm sure we'll run some sort of episode covering, playoff preview and everything like that. So, stay tuned with us there. Wayne, did you have any final thoughts for today's episode?
Yeah, final thoughts. I don't know. I've been thinking about this a little bit. It might be a hot take, if you will. But, I've been seeing some things, I guess, from all these tech layoffs that I've been noticing that's been occurring, right? I don't know what we expect from these companies. I think is my whole thing. Like, are we expecting Microsoft people and like the Googles of the world not to fire people? I know it's like 4 or 5% of their workforce. They're have great revenue streams. They're highly profitable and all that. But yeah, they are very much determined by their shareholders and all. So like that's how they roll. So I don't understand this whole, I guess, idea of that. Not that we shouldn't feel sorry, I guess, for people that are getting laid off. Like losing a job sucks and all that. But I don't know why we're expecting anything better. Like, I think is my whole thing. In the end of the day, these companies they're not your life. They're not your life. And I think this whole thing proves it. I think the pandemic proved it, right? Where people are firing people left and right. So yeah, you can be cordial, you can be decent human being towards your coworkers, your manager, your boss, whomever. That's totally fine. Like that makes sense. But it's hard to just like, I guess for me sometimes to like pour your entire life's meaning on like on your job. And and I don't know, for me it's like been a kind of an inflection point, I think, for some other people. For me, for sure, I've been laid off before, I feel like, and I know what it is. I worked for a company that got acquired previously too, and yeah, they fired people that had worked there for 30 years, just handing them a pink slip just right then and there, 30 years, and then just told to leave. And it's like, again, what do you expect from people? Some of these companies, they're not like Jesus or anything like that, or Allah. They're just companies, and they do see you as figures on a balance sheet. So I don't know. For me, not to put a damp taste on everything here, but yeah, I was just thinking about that recently, and I guess just wanted to put that out there. But yeah, I don't know. Pat, if you want to say anything, feel free to say it. But yeah, I guess those are my thoughts.
So I guess one question is like, with that perspective, what has it been for you that's been, I don't know, frustrating, annoying? Like what maybe gets at you about it when you think about the layoffs per se, or just the idea of around maybe working for a big tech company?
Your company is not your family. I hear that all the time, and it infuriates me. Because both sides make the family work through, as at least in my opinion, like you try to make it work as much as possible. But a company, it doesn't work, or you did this, you looked at the manager the wrong way or something like that, you're fired. Like, yeah, that's not a family. That's a dysfunctional family, I guess, or like one of those families I guess you make fun of. But yeah, I just don't see it that way. I see family as family, like, yeah. And maybe I'm more fortunate, I guess, with, having family around and all, and being a little bit more caring there, here and there. But yeah, it just kind of doesn't make sense to me as much. So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I think that's totally normal, and I think that's perfectly okay. I mean, I feel like the generation above us, maybe the couple generations, that preceded us in the work world, really put a value on brand name and being a part of the bigger entity and moving up the corporate ladder and having power and status and wealth and all that good stuff. And I think some of it's okay. I mean, some of it's okay, like pushing yourself and wanting to know that your hard work is being kind of acknowledged, or that you're working at maybe one of the highest levels in your space. Like I see where people get that drive, but again, like, yeah, if it's part of your identity, how you go about establishing your own name and your own personality, like that's a problem to me. And like you said, I mean, this whole situation we're going through with the economy, what happened after the pandemic and maybe what a lot of these big tech companies thought was going to be the wave of the future, like really didn't take place the way they maybe envisioned in their business planning. And people going back to normal regular society kind of changed those expansion efforts, and people were laid off in the process. And I also never want to see somebody lose a job and to be scrambling or to be without income for a while. But in the same sense, if you're playing on that level, you're at least upside or possibilities of acquiring another similar paying job or similar minded job is probably pretty promising, if you're on the early portions of your career still. But no, I'm totally with that. I hear it. I think with the pandemic and just kind of who we are as millennials, and we got another generation coming behind us in the workforce too now. It's kind of like we value a lot of our own, me personally, just working more flexibly, like having those hours off, like being able to close the laptop at a certain time, like being able to take vacations and not having to be hounded or sweated. And like you're saying, like people not treating you with a pretentious attitude. It's like, if somebody's gonna try to make me like beg for their approval, like I'm gonna have to try to like find a place that's comfortable for me, where I'm actually as valued, an equal part of it. And there's people obviously in the hierarchy above us that make the decisions and stuff, but the more personable those people are, like the more the employees stay in the hole and like want to go to battle with them, like for sure. Like that's what a leader's all about. But no, it's a good point. I mean, I've definitely seen a lot of stuff on LinkedIn with folks announcing that they've been laid off, and definitely not fun. But I've also seen a lot of them get back on their feet and find their next opportunity with for some of them a similar tech company. So it's kind of like, I don't know, man. But no, I'm totally with that. And I know you're making your own changes now, not based on layoffs or anything like that, but like you can find new opportunities. You just got to look for them.
Yeah. And by all means, I don't mean like, be lazy, don't do anything, and don't strive for a better future. I definitely believe like improving yourself and doing all that, career wise, personally, all that for sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, it ties to, in my opinion, like the identity thing. It's like, somebody I think compared like these, I guess, Silicon Valley type of tech companies, like, kind of like, I don't know, like grade school or advanced like college, basically. Like they kind of treat it like that, like with all the, getting togethers and stuff like that, which, hey, I get it. You're trying to build a team, you're trying to build camaraderie, but I'm like, this isn't a cult. Again, this isn't a family. Like, let's draw the line. Well, if you were to, kind of, like, would you do this job like out of your own free will? Like if they were paying you like, below market, I don't know. It's like, are you really going to be like that? So I think that's just where I might draw the line a little bit there. But yeah, definitely strive to improve yourself, capitalize as much, I think, on your knowledge, what you bring to the table. But again, it's like, these companies are not your family. Again, for them, they were making a business decision to lay off so that they can pay market or they can pay or improve their market shares and or their market cap, things like that. Because a lot of the big tech companies now, I think past couple months they've gone up by like double digits now. So again, they're fine. So I think that's where I'm going with that. But yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've also seen some pretty good articles out there. I think one was like Harvard Business Review, but just like the increases in productivity, the increases in retention, things like that, when just people treat each other with, respect and like dignity and stuff like at the work. And, kind of going off these themes, it's just like, I just continue to read a lot of these articles, just like shaping around, positive teamwork, like kind of building, I don't want to say family because now we've ruined that expression tied to this conversation, but almost in a way it's like, it's just the more personable you can make it, the less stress and anxiety you bring upon, people you work with, or, the people that work under you or whatever it is. It's just like you build some sort of collegiality and just some like genuine, trust with each other, and like people want to stay in the hole and like, want to build toward, their own careers, the movement of the company or whatever else. But I think that's a fair topic to raise, especially in, times we're going through right now. But besides that, I have a final thought that's completely off of, that topic and into food yet again. But with the Super Bowl, I don't know if you partied anywhere, Wayne, but I went to a pretty good house party. I was actually blown away with what was on the table. I think we had some new dishes kind of come to the surface that, I really enjoyed. Nothing exotic in terms of, wild game or anything like that, but we had two different dishes that like really stood out to me. I never had before, but one, your typical chicken wing, kind of that, full wing style. So it's kind of got like, the break apart, capability and everything like that. But these wings were baked. They had salt, pepper, garlic salt, and then there was Everglades seasoning on this thing. Like, I'd never heard about this. I was like, what is this seasoning? Because these wings were really well made. They were really delicate, like kind of just, fell off the bone or whatever with the meat. And I was like, what is this flavor? I couldn't even put my finger on it, but it was kind of like a Creole type seasoning, but more like lemony in a way. Like, I don't even, again, like couldn't even explain it. It almost tasted like lemon butter or whatever else. But the girl who made them basically said that her family is like from around the Everglades or in Florida or whatnot. And like they put this on everything. And she showed me that it was on Amazon. So I definitely want to make my first order of that and just kind of endorse that on this show. Like, I don't think anybody out there is pumping Everglades seasoning as like something to pitch, but man, these wings were awesome. Like, there were two different selections of wings at this party. The other were dry rub from Costco, the kind of the ready bake wings and stuff like that, which were also good. But besides that, there was a dessert that was essentially cream cheese. There was crushed Oreos. There was frosting. There was peanut butter in there. There was something else, but essentially like you put it on a Nilla wafer and you just eat it. And I was a little hesitant at first because I was like, I'm not like the biggest cheesecake guy, but in the same sense, when I ate this, it tasted like a whipped version of like a Reese's Pieces, like, I don't know, dessert or something like that. But I just thought it was so good. And, somebody who, brought this just kind of like shared that recipe with me after. So I was like, okay, definitely doing this as well. But like just two off the wall kind of like spins on, traditional, meals and desserts that I had there. But I don't know, Wayne, have you ever heard of like either of these combinations of flavors or anything like this, kind of showing up? And did you have a good Super Bowl just in terms of like maybe who you're around or what you guys, dug into?
Man, I don't think I've heard of that. No, but it sounds delicious. I love any combination of anything like that, to be honest. I mean, the South does, I just came from New Orleans and everything, but yeah, the South definitely knows how to do desserts, whether it's like a pie or any type of cheesecake. So yeah, mixed with honey and stuff like that. Oh, that sounds amazing. So, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess my Super Bowl, I just had like a pizza. Just like a pizza. It was like a cauliflower pizza, actually. I just had it, went to the grocery store, just got one, and then just brought it over, with some friends, actually. So just something low key, didn't want to go through the whole Domino's thing. It's like, oh, maybe we'll probably get a pizza like 3 hours after the Super Bowl or something like that. So I just went to the grocery store, got something real quick, and then just had some people over and just enjoyed that. Again, low key, but I don't know. It was a nice Super Bowl, though. I think we think we've talked about the game and everything, but I definitely got fat in New Orleans, so I had to get some batteries at the store too. So
I got you. So I found this dessert. It was from the Romeos who made it, brought this to the party. So shout out to the Romeos. But cream
Okay.
cheese, butter, powdered
Oh.
sugar, Nutella, crushed Oreos, and then I think there was also some chocolate chips in there. But whipped
Oh, man.
together, just like a dip. It's called cookies and cream dip. I think you can find it anywhere on a Google search. But in general, I think they might have swapped out a couple ingredients because I know there was peanut butter in there and not Nutella. But I swear to God, Chase, if you like Reese's Pieces, or like I think most people in the world just like Reese's peanut butter cups, unless they got peanut butter, allergies or something like that. Like in general, this was like, it was amazing, man. I just kept going in with like more and more scoops and stuff, and I think everybody just like polished off the bowl together.
That sounds like all the best things in life, just like all meshed into one. So, like, was it also like in the shape of football or something? Or I don't know. Like, that sounds amazing.
No, you can do it that way. I mean, I'm looking at some pictures here of like you could do the vanilla frosting and some like chocolate chips all over it. I'm sure you could do it, and I think it'd be a hit at like any sort of sports party or anything like that. But like just with everything going into that party, like you just never know what's going to be, kind of served. And we did a kind of potluck style. I think I brought lasagna and a chicken Caesar salad that I made and stuff. But like, once everybody just stacks all of their different dishes on the plate, on the table or whatever, it was a free for all. And now different. And I think my buddy brought out like some mac and cheese that he made as well. So it was just kind of like everything was super rich, super heavy. Beers were flowing, just kind of like just left, and it was just like Thanksgiving 2.0.
Man, no, yeah. I mean, I feel like the Super Bowl now is like it is like the unofficial holiday, but it's like like I do wonder. There's some statistic out there, right, about the Monday after the Super Bowl is like the most taking time off work. Like, let's just make it a holiday. Let's just go for it. We're American. We make up holidays all the time, so why not go for the Super Bowl, the Monday after the Super Bowl or something like that, right? But good food. I think that's always a fun thing for sure for the Super Bowl. So I do remember one time it was Super Bowl Sunday. This was maybe like 4 or 5 years ago when I was living in Seattle. It was me and a couple buddies. We were watching the Super Bowl in like our building's common area. We had a common area in our apartment building area, and we were watching the Super Bowl there. We had our own little thing, food, like all the things we were talking about. But then I do recall there was a pizza delivery driver. He just made a delivery, and he was looking into our room that we rented out for the Super Bowl, and he was just watching there for like 5-10 minutes. I think it was like maybe close to like halftime or something like that. There was like a big play that happened. He was just standing there. It might have been actually during the Super Bowl that Russell Wilson threw a pick. I think that might have been it. With the Marshawn Lynch didn't run it in. I think it was during the Seahawks Super Bowl run there. But yeah, I do recall that there was a pizza delivery driver right there, just staring at there for about a good like 15 minutes. And then I was just looking at that, and I was telling my friends there, somebody is not getting their pizza right now.
Just got to invite him in for a beer at some point, just like, hey dude, just sit down.
or do you got any more pizza? Like,
dude, just start working on some trades there for sure.
Yeah, like I don't know, you'll probably get fired after this, but hey, you want a pizza, beer? Let's do it. So, but yeah, I thought that was a funny thing. So
yeah. The only other funny, I think, Super Bowl food moment that I've had is one time I brought this dip that's made pretty often in our family or whatever, but salsa and cream cheese. So you take like 2 blocks of Philly cream cheese, and then you just pour enough salsa, mild, chunky, just to get it a good whip, and then you've got like a pink flavored cream cheese dip that you have and stuff. But like in general, it's just so tangy. It's so good that people will just tortilla chips, pretzels, whatever it is. But we were at my friend's house, and he was Filipino, but he just had like a complete spread of like egg rolls, and he had chicken wings, and he had all sorts of stuff. And at one point, like, we had some drinks flowing and stuff like that, but like people were taking wings and just dipping in there, and then like grabbing an egg roll and just like dipping it in there and stuff. And just things were just flying around that dip. And it was just like the dip was just like a vehicle for all the other really like rich, fried foods that we were having, stuff like that. So it was just like a complete grease fest. But, just just fun times, man. Just like Thanksgiving, like, you know, we don't praise Thanksgiving too much on this show, but like there are those moments in American culture where I feel like, you know, we're gonna do some nasty things tonight, and like nobody's gonna really like, you know, give each other a hard time for it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely appreciate those moments. You know, it's like sometimes in life, right? I think you need those moments where let's just not give a shit about diets. just enjoy your life, right? So, you know, whether it's Thanksgiving, whether it's Super Bowl Sunday, whether it's a holiday dinner of some sort. But yeah, I always appreciate it. Thanks Super Bowl Sunday. For the food and friends that, you know, and family that come along with it, for sure.
Well, no doubt. We'll be back here, our Ball and Breakfast family. That's our new favorite word, family. We're going to continue to preach that. Everyone's going to obey the Ball and Breakfast logo, sacrifice all life to make this better. And if we decide to cut either one of us, Wayne or me, you know, we'll just have to be okay with, you know, finding another podcasting vehicle to jump onto. But you're still with us. Thank you. Leave us a like, a comment. Please subscribe to our channels. Leave us you know, any sort of feedback on social media elsewhere. You know, we just appreciate it. So until next time, it's Patrick with Wayne signing off for the Ball and Breakfast podcast.
Take care, all.